on Transmedia Worldwide. It's kind of like a coronavirus COVID-19 update. And before we get back into the big broadcast, we have got a great new marketing partner I want to tell you about today here at Transmedia Worldwide. You can find these folks. They are absolutely phenomenal. Wigwomen.com. Check out wigwomen.com. They sell a wide variety and a wide range of hair products from the human, Brazilian, and Malaysian hairs, wigs, along with mink eyelashes and beauty products. It's absolutely available over there at wigwomen.com. That's WIGWOMEN.com. Wigwomen.com. These folks are making things happen. Go over and check out wigwomen.com. For the people in the cheap seats in the back, it's wigwomen.com. And tell them you heard about it here. Transmedia Worldwide. Okay. Oh, it locked up on me. This is going to be fun today. We've got a hell of a deal today. We are going to go to Frank Scurlock. Frank Scurlock. That is a fantastic name, by the way. He sounds like a movie villain. Frank Scurlock, look at that. He's on the old Skip Skype. Let's ring the old Skip Skype, see if he'll pick the horn up. If he doesn't, we'll call him on the regular traditional telephone. If not, okay, we won't call him on the traditional. We'll call him on the traditional telephone then. Frank Scurlock, the biggest star in the business. You tell him, I'll tell him. Everyone will tell him. Maybe. Maybe.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
I'm not doing that. We're just going to call him back. Okay. Well, then we'll do this. We will go to break.
It's here, the critically acclaimed parenting series, Being with Infants, by world-renowned Montessori, Hickler, and Rye teacher trainer and child specialist, Beverly Kovach. This essential series teaches parents and caregivers how to bond respectfully with their infants. See why Being with Infants is used by Montessori daycare centers, new parents, grandparents, and new moms who suffer from...
Have some expectation of what you're looking at. How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? Who should I associate myself with? What should I look out for? Etc., etc. So I wrote the book.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, this book, you put a lot of time and effort into this. Take me and John here through the writing process of this book.
Well, I started, I guess, not too long after I got on, after I was appointed. I was hearing some interesting cases, and I said, you know, I'm going to start writing a book about this. And I'm very cynical, not overly cynical, about how the system works, because I see how it really works. And people ask me oftentimes, do I think it's fair? And so what I wanted to do, as I went through each of the different chapters, was picked out what I thought would be helpful to the public, give them a real good idea, guidelines, etc. So I started out with small claims court, because I had been sitting in that court for a while. And then I went into restraining orders, where I sat for almost 6 years, 5 to 6 years. Great stories, by the way, terrific stories. And then I went into general civil litigation. How does it really work? What do you do? How much does it cost? How do you start? What do the terms mean? Etc. Then I went into landlord and tenant, because a lot of people get evicted or foreclosed, and they don't know what to do about it.
Yes.
And then I went into the criminal stuff because I was a DA at one time, deputy DA. And so I did criminal defense for many years. So I thought I'd do that too. What's bail? How do you get it? Et cetera, et cetera. How do you pick a lawyer? Do you need a lawyer? And what can you expect if you hired one? What kind of questions should you ask that lawyer so you can get a better idea of whether you want to hire him or her to be your lawyer? There's certain tips that go along with it. So that's what I basically did, and I gave you some forms, and I gave people some samples and talked about the cases and put the spiritual twist to it, and that was it. That was the process. It took me about 7 years, I guess.
Wow. John, listening to all
Okay.
this, do you have any questions for the judge while we've got him here?
Yeah, it's just it was interesting what you bounced around to different areas and stuff. Did you get promoted to those areas? Did you run for it? Or was it just like there's a job opening there? How did you go from small claims to the other stuff?
Well, actually, when I was appointed as what they call a judge pro tem, meaning I wasn't sitting in one particular court. I was basically assigned every week to a different court. So I covered 15 courts in L.A. County, and depending on what the need was, I'd fill in for a judge who was sick or taking classes or for whatever reason on vacation, whatever. So they varied it pretty much between the needs and my training. I had to be trained and certified in all these subjects. So I was certified in small claims and restraining orders, unlawful detainers, and general civil litigation. And so they moved me around pretty good. Some days I was in Long Beach doing unlawful detainers. The next week I could be in Lancaster doing small claims. So I got a great breadth of experience, which most judges don't get. They get sent to one particular place and they sit there for years, every day, same court, same people, whatever. So I got a real breadth of it all, and that's what I did.
Wow. Fantastic. We have got the judge with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast. He's a California broadcaster, author, judge, and you recently had best-selling author and a guy that I kind of mark out for, Roger Stone, on your broadcast.
I interviewed Roger 4 times. Roger was an interesting piece of work, I got to say that. I had a great time with Roger. I always made it sure that in the interviews that I did, I never became adversarial or confrontational. I always treated every one of my guests with respect, no matter what I believed or I believed them. For example, I had Ann Coulter on. She was great. I had United States Senator Benjamin Cardin on. He was very, very informative.
Holy smokes.
I've had Ginger Banks, a former porn star, talked about some legal things. I had Richard Chamberlain on, who was an actor, very good actor.
Wow, Richard Chamberlain. That goes back a few years. That's awesome.
Well,
fantastic.
I knew him for 30 years. We had a mutual friend, and we ended up going to visit him when he was in Hawaii. And I said, "How'd you like to do my show?" He says, "Why not?" So he did. It was great.
Why not?
He's a terrific person. So it was fun. And then I did Lee Baca, the sheriff of L.A. County. We talked about gun safety regulations, the law, etc. And the shows are they're a mixture of law, a mixture of information, a part of guidelines, and with the spiritual. So that's what
awesome.
we were doing.
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. The judge joins us here in the broadcast. And so what made you want to get into practicing law? Because there's, in being a judge, there is so much other things you could do.
Well, I actually got talked into doing it by a friend of mine who was a judge in Van Nuys, and they were really desperate for judges. This is 2008. They didn't have any money, and they were overwhelmed with matters. And he says, "Would you do it as a volunteer?" I said, "Well, what does it take?" Yada yada yada. And so that's how I got started in it. I loved that job more than anything else. And I've had a whole rash of different things starting from when I got out of law school. But to answer your question, and it's the first line, I think, in my book, I was about 5 years old, 6 years old, and my relatives told me I had to be a lawyer because I had a big mouth and I liked to argue. So that's how I got started. I guess I was trained to become a lawyer, and I did, and I stayed with it, and tried a lot of cases. Was a deputy district attorney, as I mentioned. I tried 99 jury trials, and I figured it was time to do something different. And this was an appealing offer. I said, can I pick the places I wanted to go? And they said, yeah. And that's what happened.
That's awesome. So,
but I'll tell you the thing is,
yes, go.
Most people don't know how the legal system works from the inside, and it really doesn't work the way people think it does. You know, who are the judges? Where do they come from? What do they believe? What do they do? People don't know that. They think that it's going to be like it's on television. When you don't get a closing argument of a minute and a half, you get real arguments and you get real cases. In fact, Judge Judy, her cases are all pretty much arranged. The outcome is already pretty much determined in terms of who's going to get paid or not. And but our cases were real, and we were altering people's lives every day, literally every day, especially in restraining order court, because there, those people were stuck with an order that was there, and if they violated it, they could go to jail.
Yes.
It became a crime.
Yes.
And so that was kind of fascinating, and it gave me a great opportunity to be a people person. You can't really do that when you're a lawyer because you have an interest in an outcome when you're a lawyer. You're getting paid by somebody to do something for them. When you're on the bench, different. You got no dog in the fight. And I didn't care who would win or lose. I just followed the law with some compassion, I hope. But I saw it as a great opportunity to do something meaningful with the breaks that I had gotten over the years. That the law had been good to us. Sent my kids off to schools, and we traveled. We did a lot of things, and I said it's time to give back to the community and tell them how it really works. What can they really expect? And you'd be surprised what goes on behind the scenes. You'd be shocked.
Well, this book,
but it is.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Judge, this book is absolutely amazing. We're chatting with the judge today, from the trench to the bench, navigating the legal system and finding your spiritual path along the way. And you can also get the judge's radio program, kcaaradio.com. The show can be heard Monday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, 106.5 FM and 102.3 FM, also iHeartMedia in Los Angeles. And you're out there with Tom Likas and all those people out there in out there in L.A.
Right now we're all in our houses. That's where we are. I'm home now for a month. I don't know. The house is so clean now because I have nothing else to do. And I retired from the bench last year, so I'm kind of just doing some legal work, and I'm going into mediation now to become a mediator. I was trained to be a mediator, and so that's what we're doing. But the system is really very interesting to people who just want to know how it works, truly how it works.
You've got some cool things.
People always say, did you ever rule for somebody that you liked, or you ruled against somebody because you didn't like them, or whatever it is? And the answer is, I didn't. But I can't say the same for my colleagues.
That is awesome. We have got the judges today.
Not all of them. They didn't love the idea, by the way, about this book. Some of my colleagues.
Well, see, that's what I was getting ready to ask you. What did you think what was going to be the reaction, and what was the reaction from some of your colleagues and peers and everybody involved in the legal system?
Well, some people really liked it, like the Chief Justice, the retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Tennessee, loved the book. Jimmy Cato, Judge Cato in L.A., wrote the foreword to the book. He loved it too. But some of my colleagues said I was being too critical of the way the system is operating and how they operate. Because people don't know how people become judges. They think because somebody's a judge, they're smart. Not so. They think that they're honest. Not necessarily. I'm not saying they're taking envelopes with cash in it. But there's this good old boys network that goes along.
Oh, yeah.
You got to know how to work the system. You got to know who to talk to. And the reality is some of them didn't like it. One of them definitely didn't like it. Made a big deal out of it. didn't like the idea that I was talking about all this to make a profit, which I'm not making, by the way. The reality is, the reality is, I'm cynical about it works, and I think the public should know what to expect because it's in their best interest.
Well, yeah, that's totally something that I would agree with you on that.
Well, you take it. If somebody gets arrested for drunk driving or driving under the influence. Every state, of course, is different. But the reality is, you need a lawyer every time. The answer is no, you don't. And I tell you why in the book. And I attach a form to show you can do it yourself.
Wow.
Not always a great idea, by the way. Certain circumstances, you definitely need a lawyer. Absolutely no question. But others, if you're on the breathalyzer and you're blowing a 2-0 or whatever it is, I don't care who your lawyer is. They're not making any great deals for you. You're going to plead to something. And you can work out a deal yourself. And same thing with restraining orders. You know, they're forever. The order is only good for a certain period of time, but it's on your record forever. You cannot take it off.
Yeah.
In fact, you're applying for a job or whatever it is, and they do a search, there it comes. So it's a very serious proceeding, very serious. And small claims, you're talking about in California, $10,000. People should take advantage of that court because there's no lawyers involved. It's faster. It's much more informal. And,
yes.
It's a whole world. The first 70 pages of my book is about small claims court, what we can do and how we do it, and when we do it. So it's informational. But keep in mind, I'm writing it from California standpoint. Although most of the laws across the country are relatively the same, the language is maybe a little bit different. There may be some innovations. That's why people need to check with their own legal counsel or research it on Google or whatever it is from wherever you are. You're in Kansas, so the law in Kansas is going to be different than the law in California. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much why I wrote the book. And the show, I've been doing the coronavirus issues for the last 3 weeks. Legal issues, what's going on in the court system, what can you expect to do, what happens if you've got an appearance, things like that. And so we did that the last couple of weeks when the impeachment was going. We did that. I had Alan Dershowitz on as my guest, and we went over the impeachment trial, for want of a better word, and that was pretty good too. And so we've kind of covered the bases on the show, and the book is an easy read. I wrote it for people who are not necessarily familiar with the law, and so it's written in lay language. It's very easy to read, and you should keep it on your shelf as a reference book in case something happens to you. Somebody shows up at the door with a summons, and you don't know what to do. You got a book. It's going to tell you.
I think that's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today.
Today's I have my sale hat on today.
Hey,
but I really do believe in it. I didn't do it because just because of my ego or anything else. I really did it with a valid purpose, and it's turning out. I get a lot of calls from people. I encourage people to contact me. I'll answer questions if they're not requiring legal advice, and I've got some great listeners from all across the country who've been sending me stuff and calling me and whatever. And if I can help the public, that's what I'm here for.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, how do we get the book, my friend? How do we
Amazon.
make this happen?
Amazon.
Just Amazon?
It's on Amazon.
You're all over the place, my friend. That's good. You've got the book. You've got the radio program. So
we got more things that we're working on. We got more things. We're going to do another show with sample cases and have the audience decide the outcomes. We're working on a bunch of things that sounds very, very fun.
I bet that would be fun. Just have the, as they say, have the marks come in and figure out what the case is going to be. That's.
Well, if we do restraining orders, which we probably will do, I can almost be like a Judge Judy from that position. I don't give any legal advice to the litigants.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But you got a lot of leeway. If I told you about some of these restraining order cases that I heard, you'd be still laughing. There are some that are absolutely outrageous. Even in small claims, same thing. People come in with the craziest cases, for the craziest reasons. And we sit there and we listen to them. And what's interesting is that it's so informal that everybody just pretty much tells their story. And it's real justice, but you have to know what the law is because it's got to be on your side for you to win. And so we treat the people in small claims court with a lot of informality, let's put it that way. And the only people who can ask questions in small claims court, you can't cross-examine, is the court. And so I would pick out questions and try to make it entertaining sometimes. I was once reprimanded. The administrator called me and said, we didn't appoint you to be Judge Judy. So keep it formal. So I try to do that every now and again. And I'd come up with something and everybody would laugh and it would make the room a lot less anxiety-producing. Because the courtroom is very anxiety-producing for people who are not used to it, even for the people that are used to it. So, the better you feel in the room, the fact you got a fair hearing where you had your day in court makes an enormous difference in how you feel about our system, which is the best in the world.
Fantastic.
It's not perfect by any means.
No.
But it's got a lot of good things for people. You just have to know how to work it.
Well, Judge, I appreciate you making time for us today. We've got to take a break, and I will be back with John here in just a few moments. But Judge, it was an honor.